I'm trying to cool off a little bit. I'm really trying to cool off a little bit because even pastors, sometimes we get disturbed, we get emotional, and we get upset about things. But what I will say to you is that we've been discussing, teaching from, talking about trauma for the past few weeks, maybe past 3 weeks. And of course, we've experienced the floods in Western North Carolina, the fires out west, and unfortunately, we just experienced the crash of an American Airlines and a Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C. 60 passengers rather, 4 crew and 3 service men on the helicopter. All lives were lost. You would think that this would be a time where we would certainly go to God in prayer for the families of those who lost their lives, that we would certainly pray for our nation. We would pray for each other, because when things like this happen, it brings a sense of trauma or reminds us of some traumatic event or experience that we faced in our own lives. But we had the President of the United States who would dare say that the reason why the accident occurred was because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Can I ask you a question? What's wrong with being diverse? A nation of diversity. What's wrong with equity? What's wrong with being a nation of inclusion? That's what America is. And for someone who is to be the leader of this nation to come out and blame diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to blame the former president, and to suggest that President Obama had something to do with it, is totally and completely outrageous. I know you heard it, I heard it, and it makes us so upset because we knew exactly who we were going to get if this country voted for this individual to be the president of the United States. And we got it. Now, I've been talking about trauma. I've been talking about it, and I happen to have it sitting before me. We've been talking about, for example, unresolved trauma can inadvertently lead to the perpetuation of harm to other people. I would ascertain that the one who sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue now has experienced some trauma in his life, and that trauma has not been dealt with. And typically what happens, as you know, in our time that we've shared together, is people that have not gotten over or dealt with their trauma typically lash out and hurt other people. They typically lash out and they say things. They call people names. They say things about people that are just ungodly. That's what we're dealing with now. But can I tell you, even though I'm extremely upset about it and others are about what was said, I also know that we have a God who is bigger than any office in any country. We have a God that we can depend on, a God that we can trust, and a God that's going to bring us through. And so my words to you in this talk with Tillett is, although we're dealing with people who are hurting, who hurt other people, we still have to demonstrate the love of Christ. Remember, God's love is a subduing agent. And if we love hard enough and we love right, we will defeat evil that exists in our world. That's what I wanted to say to you today. I've had mixed emotions and feelings since that crash in Washington, D.C., and since this president responded the way he did. I just had to come out and say to you, be encouraged. Know that God is in charge. Demonstrate the love of Christ. And at the end of the day, God is going to have the last word. We're going to be all right. Take that with